Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. I've just made this goblet, just completed it, which was for the 24th of the Four Ways projects. This month Sam decided we should make a long stem goblet, which we haven't tackled before, and this is what I've ended up with. I've actually had 4 attempts at goblets. The first one I thought was very successful. I thought it was going to be a terrific video. Unfortunately, my head popped into the camera's view and it refocused, so all of this turning was out of focus. Interesting commentary, but out of focus. The next one had splits. The next blank inside, which I hadn't spotted, they came out lead, so that had to be discarded. The one after that, I managed to go through the bowl up here, and that became a very short goblet, even shorter than this one. So I was lucky to discover what I thought was cherry turned out to be Himalayan cedar, and it was very nice wood to work and looks much better than the other ones would have done. So I'd encourage you to have a look and see what the other 3 members of Four Ways have got up to, Sam, Mike and Tomislav, and you'll find the links to their videos in the notes to this video. It's always seemed to me that when turners start talking about long stem goblets, what they have in mind is a cup on a stem and then a base, and the main thing, or there might be a little bead there, but the main thing seems to be the technique required to turn a very long thin stem, although normally on a piece like this I regard the cup as actually the more difficult bit to turn, and this bit just gets a bit tedious and takes a lot of care. I like to make things which are practical, which you can actually use, so I'm not really that interested in making a very long thin stem, although I probably could manage it. What I have in mind is something a bit thicker, and so it'll be kind of tapered down to something at the bottom. The bottom will be bigger than the top, and I'm not quite sure what shape it'll be. I thought it might be nice to hollow out the bottom a bit, so there'll be a space here, in order to take some of the weight out of the base, and that just gives me something else to show you as well, I suppose. This is actually going to be the 4th attempt. The first one, the camera went out of focus, so I lost that. The second one, I had splits in the blank. The third one, I managed to go through the cup, and I'm hoping, since this is absolutely my last blank, some piece of fruit wood, I think, and it is about 8 inches long. Yes, 8 inches long and about 3 inches diameter, so it's around 200 by 80 mil. So this log, which I suspect was a branch, is pretty unusual in that I know it to be 10 years old or so, and it's not cracked on the end grain, which is very unusual. I hope I'm not going to discover it inside, which is what happened with one of the earlier attempts here, but this appears to be solid, and the first big goblet I did was solid all the way through, so live in hope. This will be roughed down using a 1-inch continental gouge, roughing gouge, 1-inch flute, which is 25 millimeters. Running initially at pretty well balanced 1200. It's going to be pretty mucky to start with. It's spent years covered in possum poo and heaven knows what else. this face is at an angle, so I'm going to put that on the other end, and that should be a better drive. Come up a bit more in speed too, so I'm now up to 15, nearly 1600. So I want to get everything I don't want in the final piece, and I'm not interested in having bark. So that will come off. There's not very much to come down. As I remove the bark, I might as well see how it works using a skew chisel. Will probably be in fact this is center work, so it is the weapon of choice for the final cut. Right, so that's working quite nicely. Good. True up either end with the parting tool. Now this is smelling like more like a cedar of some sort. So I'm now going for Himalayan cedar as a wood, which is good news because the other lot I've had recently has been excellent. That was the good news. The bad news is that there are a couple of little splits down there, but nothing at this end, so this end can become the cup, and I can probably absorb the splits at the other end. So this can pop into there. The trued surface here sits against the bottom of the chuck. Bit in the middle will fit in right in between the jaws. Good. So now I'm going to hollow this out a bit, and I don't need this rest. Something a bit shorter means that as I'm in here I can work nearer the tool post so there's less vibration. I have here a 3/8 spindle gouge, 3/8 flute. This is almost a trial run for the for doing the cup, because with a longer piece, chances are you'll want to do as much as possible with the tailstock in position. Just a moment, that wasn't even tightened up. Let me just true that up again. Tool starts right on its side. Then rotate it slightly. Yeah, definitely a Himalayan cedar, I think. With that bit of smoke coming off from all the oil. through there. I do want to have a little cone at the centre because there's a good chance I'll be finishing this off between centres. Right, so I can back that off. Now I want to kind of disguise what that central hole is by making a few grooves in there with a skew chisel point. Now these are purely decorative, designed to confuse the eye or make the whole thing look decorative. I'll stick one more in up here. And I'll sand that. Pretty good surface, so gosh, really needs sanding. This is 240 grit. Probably scratch it. It is, however, very oily, so it'll probably block up the paper, block up the abrasive. And I will not, no, I'll be signing that, so I won't put any kind of finish on it at the moment. I will try and get some of that dust out of the grooves. This is going into the chuck jaws. What I shall do is put a groove in up here into which the jaws will fit, and that'll just help locate the piece when I turn it round for hollowing the cup. I'll screw this up. Put a little chamfer on the end there too. Now initially this will just be going right into the chuck jaws, and then I'll come back and probably have to remove teeth marks a bit later, but that's why I have the centre cone in there. So this is now turned around into this chuck, and again seats right down into the chuck, so I've got the shark jaws, I've got nearly 1.5 inches gripping the end, which is much more secure than you'd get out of standard jaws. That just trues it up, tighten everything up. When I was making the first long stem goblet, I had a support here, and this is how that worked. Now the banjo is locked, the banjo is locked in place. One goes in this side and the other goes in there. The two are cramped around the spindle. I shall be back hollowing using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. So just face it off first. I have the rest high enough so when the tool's on its sides, the point's pretty much at centre. Into the middle and out the other side. Get down a fair bit first. A bit more than that probably. probably look better if it goes further than that. Anyway, we'll open this up first. One-inch round nose, asymmetric round nose. Key to getting the inside done is to move smoothly. Go in from the rim, aiming for a point about, let's get a pencil out, aiming for a point, aiming for this area here, and then work from the inside out and feather the two curves in together. I want to go a little bit deeper than that. Rest up slightly so that the tool's down when I'm at centre. Once I'm away from centre, I can drop the handle and get the element of a shear cut. I can't see what I'm doing at all, it's all a feel, and as you can see there's probably not much point in trying to look because there are shavings in there. That jarring sound means chatter marks. Right, so that's pretty nice, good. So that gets sanded. Oh, up on the rim, oh, that's actually grain, not tool marks. First thing is to mark the depth. You need to know where the inside is and mark the depth before you do the sanding. I'm going to do this with 180 grit. As before, that's going to really bung up the abrasive. So I'm going to sand this with oil and a little bit of it's actually rice bran oil, a little bit of cooking oil. It'll just thin the natural oils down a bit. And you end up with a slurry in the abrasive which will break off a bit later. Or I could have a bowl of oil and just float it off. I think I'm not going to need a huge amount of sanding here. Blue, which is the 240 grit. Let's see how that looks. One nice thing with sanding with oil is there's no dust flying. Oh, looking good. To 320. So now come back and do the bowl. I hope I don't need tail center support for this. In the days when I used to make scoops, I used to do them in pairs, and the 2-inch diameter scoops, 50mm diameter, I'd get 2 out of the one length, so I'm fairly confident I won't need any extra support for this. Now the mark is exactly where the inside is, so I part in on that line. And obviously if I go all the way through, I'm going to end up with a small cup with a hole in the bottom. But I go leaving about half the diameter, and I know that the inside is a tool width away from this face, the headstock side of that cut. So next thing is to turn the bowl. And then I project this curve to the intersection of that line and center on this angle. Can feel something's picked up there. So a little bit of twisted grain, so that's going to be better to have a peeling cut. I'll try it in the other direction first, but here's a bit of a warning. When I was turning scoops, something like that wouldn't have been a problem because I had cut it out, but here it is an issue. Fortunately that knot is nice and tight, as is that one. That can be a little bit thinner. Right, now I can start thinking about the overall shape. So I still need to get the bead down there, but I need to open this up a bit. It's a 3/4 inch Raffan continental gouge. Three-quarter inch skew again, long point down to do the detailing. and start to shape all this. The next major event is going to be shifting the whole thing out in the chuck, and I think actually I'll do that now. I was going to take a bit more. No, I'll take the bulk away here first and then shift it out. Oh, I hate to see all this nice wood going to waste. This now gets eased out in the chuck. Some very nice kind of markings coming here. Not such a nice mark as what looks horribly like a split. Right, so the teeth are just going to fit into there. That whole thing's going to come down a little bit when I finish it off between centres. That's not running quite true. So in this case there are teeth marks in there already, so I'm just going to shift that around a little bit. Watching the top. And I can bring the tailstock up now with some to offer that support. So to support this, obviously I don't want a cone making a mess in the bottom, so I've got one of my little MDF discs, cloth, which is dual purpose. One is to stop the MDF marking the wood, the goblet, but also it's going to help me pull it out. That just needs kind of levelling up a bit. Oh, not that much. And tighten everything up. Right, it runs true, which is good. And now I can get a longer rest. The 3/4 inch continental gouge, and this is 1800. I mustn't forget I've hollowed the foot, so on the first goblet I did, I left a kind of ridge in the middle which proved to make the cut extremely well balanced. Try a similar thing here. And I'm trying to get a curve kind of flowing through what will be the bead. And that looks too low, that one. Take it up the hill a bit. Oh, still needs to go up the hill a bit. Going in there. Better done with gouges, I think, here. Up at the top, I just put a little bit of a beady thing in there. That's rest quite a long way away from the task. Slight lump there. And a bit of a lump there too. On the less waxy timber that would sand out with no problem. Now up here, because I need to do some things. Let's get a little bit more detailing up here. Down a wee bit. That all gets sanded because I know that when I'm between centres that's going to be likely to slip, so I want the powerful drive now. I'll just sand that and come back to you when that's done. I decided the best way to get rid of these marks is to chuck it by the cup. I had been thinking of jam chucking it between two cones, but this looks better, so I've turned a waste block just to fit the cup. I'll put that over there because if this slips at all, then it's the cloth, I hope, which gets burnt and not the wood. So that goes in there. Get rid of the marks first. a little bit tighter. Still got to go pretty gently because there's not a huge amount driving it, or not a lot of pressure. So just make sure all the teeth marks are gone. Yep. And decide what I want to do with this, with the shape up here. I could, if I want to, even hollow it out a bit more, although that's difficult at this stage. Just forget about that silly idea. Take some of the weight out of here, I think, with a cove. Lengthen this slope again. Lump there. Fade it out. And round it over. And that will do. So I just need to re-sand all this lot, which is quite a messy business with the oil. So I move the camera right away in case it gets spattered. You can see another little lump there, which I'll do with the skew. Now I'll see you later. So that only took a couple of minutes, and we have the finished goblet. So here is my Himalayan cedar goblet. It's ended up around 8 by 2.5 inches, which is 200 by 65 millimeters. Now please take a look at the other 3 4-ways videos for this month, and you'll find the links to those in the notes to this video. And many thanks for watching if you've got this far.